We have been discussing the amount of hostility that is currently accumulating around XRP for the past few months. And it's strange because given that we recently overcame one of the biggest challenges, the SEC lawsuit, you would think that there would be a ton of love and support for XRP right now. However, it's making people even more hateful. And the source of all this hatred and the recent focus is the cryptocurrency industry. I find it astounding that in 2025, there is still so much negative speech about XRP and even about Ripple. I would have thought, yeah, makes sense if you had said this in 2020. I would have said, yeah, sure, makes sense if you had said that in 2017 or 2018. However, by 2025, when the industry as a whole is beginning to shift, adoption is booming and institutional players are joining the fray. Guys, the US government, which is the largest economy in the world, is now supporting us. And there is still this small-minded hatred directed at XRP and Ripple. We need to discuss and deal with this because, as you can imagine, a lot of it stems from the fact that XRP has outperformed practically everything over the past 12 months. It did better than Bitcoin. It also did better than Ethereum. Let's go to Ethereum if we return to the list. Ethereum has performed better. It's outperformed, as you can see. Why don't we just put Chainlink on the board? Outperformed Chainlink. How about we take a look at Litecoin? Litecoin, or LTC. Yes, it did better than Litecoin. How about Solana? Once more, one of the best dogs in the area did better than Solana. Over the past 12 months, XRP has outperformed nearly all of the top 100 altcoins and nearly every major cryptocurrency. This is among the main causes of XRP's current hatred. Because once more, these people have all expressed their hatred for it without actually purchasing any. And now they're saying, wow, I'm sidelined as it's booming and doing incredibly well this run. This is awful. And their only coping mechanism is to despise XRP. This comes from Litecoin. It's so absurd that I won't even bother to read it. Go ahead and read it if you want to. However, this is effectively a decentralized currency with an X account managed by a social media manager who is spreading hate against XRP, discussing XRP. Why are there no posts on the adoption of Litecoin? Why hasn't anyone posted on Litecoin's performance in X, Y, and Z? These projects that have to discuss XRP are always those who aren't accomplishing anything at all in this field. As I mentioned before, the industry as a whole despises XRP because they are afraid of what it may and will become. For the same reasons, they also despise Ripple. We are so accustomed to the Bitcoin and Ethereum axis disparaging XRP and Ripple, but now it's the holders of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, and Litecoin. It's funny how XRP's popularity and aura are now spreading throughout the industry. Since it was revealed that Ripple was offering RUSD, stablecoin players have detested the company. Because Ripple applied for a national banking license, digital asset banks and their CEOs, such as Custodia Bank with Caitlin Long, began to despise the company. The rest of the market is under tremendous pressure due to the success of both XRP and Ripple. The most absurd aspect of it all is that none of these projects are really in competition with Ripple. And to be honest, I don't see why all of these initiatives keep trying to blame XRP and Ripple. It seems to me that they must bring up XRP as soon as one of these businesses or initiatives is not doing so well. They must bring up Ripple. Why? Well, it creates engagement because it generates clicks. The focus on these projects has suddenly returned. They cannot succeed without using XRP and Ripple. And the fact that this is still going on in 2025 astounds me. Let's discuss this one a bit now, shall we? Because once more, you would assume that Caitlin Long is a pretty successful person, wouldn't you? It dates back to the 29th and comes from Digital Asset Investor. Caitlin Long claims that Ripple's lobbying of the government is an example of legalized corruption. However, the Bitcoin lobby is very legitimate. For the past 10 years, supporters of Bitcoin and Ethereum have been working with the government to create a regulatory monopoly in their favor, and it has been okay. It was all right when the same government used regulatory capture against Ripple for 5 years. I'm sick of these people. Take a look at this. Unfortunately, corruption in the form of pay-to-play has been made legal by powerful individuals in the United States. That's just the way it is, boy. Well, access is granted to anyone who donates to politics. And we can see that there is now a lot of disagreement over whether Ripple will be included in the strategic Bitcoin reserve. It now appears that because to the tribalism in our area, Trump may decide to hold a number of meetings rather than completing his advisory council. Furthermore, although Ripple donated a significant sum of money, they were primarily the contentious party. That phrase alone is hilarious, so I simply wanted to take a moment to think. Tribalism in this area, particularly in the vicinity of Ripple. When did Ripple or Brad Garlinghouse say that you had to believe in Ripple and nothing else, or that you have to believe in XRP? This is absurd. Tribalism in this area has only come from the Ethereum and Bitcoin axes. However, once more, these are the kinds of people that this space views and concludes are successful. Put XRP and Ripple out of your mind. No, Ethereum and Bitcoin are the main topics. How absurd. To politicians, and so they have access. It's remarkable how the system is simply pay to play, but regrettably, given all the corruption being exposed, that won't change anytime soon because it's just the way the US system is currently set up. In hindsight, McCain-Feingold was a bad strategy since it essentially made access and money go hand in hand. Whoa. Through this film, the copium is almost palpable. This is due to the fact that Caitlin Long's Custodia Bank has yet to become a bank with a master account, which is what it aspires to be. A Fed master account has not yet been granted to them. It appears that Ripple will receive that banking license, which will, in my opinion, expedite the Fed master account approval. And Custodia Bank will be totally embarrassed by this. Once more, all of the rivals are suddenly emerging from hiding, despising XRP and Ripple. Caitlin Long has always been an Ethereum and Bitcoin enthusiast, by the way. Why not XRP though? Once more, it's because they understand what XRP and Ripple are doing. They are worried about how popular XRP and Ripple are growing. And after considering this, we go to Rusty. I've been drawing attention to this, guys. Okay, so in this context, Ripple is essentially engaging in tribalism, correct? Where XRP is the only top dog, isn't it? So why does Ethereum have the majority of the Rusty supply? Once more, Ripple is helping the whole sector. XRP is not the only issue. However, Rusty has had great success, rising 16.3% over the past 30 days. Holders keeps expanding. The volume of monthly transfers keeps increasing. Additionally, the Rusty expansions keep getting bigger, correct? The Gemini credit card is in our possession. The XRP edition is this one. For XRP, this was huge. However, it was also very significant for Rusty because the Gemini platform now supports Rusty for US spot trading. The Gemini is a huge trade. We've already talked about this before. However, I bring this up because once more, Ripple, XRP and Rusty have all had absolutely amazing months. As Ripple and XRP expand throughout this entire area, the announcements are beginning to become more and more constant. And they detest seeing this. They detest that achievement. They detest seeing these well-known people they have always detested, beginning to rise to the top of the industry. And they are accomplishing this through these significant actions. Here's another significant one for Rusty as well. I take it that this is through a FAV. A 5 Labs Horizon RWA market is thriving. A key component of this platform will be Rusty. This is the reason once more, everyone must discuss Ripple. They need to discuss XRP. The topic of Rusty must be discussed. I find it shocking that this is still going on, don't you think? Additionally, the most recent RWA issue was posted on the XRP ledger. With $131.6 million in tokenized RWAs at the end of the second quarter of this year, it reached a record high. Adoption is rapidly increasing, thanks to new issuances that were announced at XRP Ledger Apex Singapore. Indeed, the growth from quarter to quarter is visible here. This represents XRP's market capitalization, which rose 8.5% to $132 billion over the previous quarter. Additionally, $326 million in tokenized value was added to the chain, increased by over 12% during the past 30 days. By the way, the market capitalization of stablecoin has increased by 32.22% over the past 30 days to over $210 million. Stablecoin has more than 31,000